There's so much talk about spirit guides and how wonderful and amazing the connection is when you know who they are. But why is it so hard for so many of us to get that connection? We're going to talk about it in this video. This is Krishanti with Krishanti.com, and I'm so happy you're here. We can chit chat about all of this fun stuff. So, when it comes to spirit guides and hearing guides and knowing that they're there, I think a lot of us have issues with that because we just don't know who they are, where they're from, and that's kind of strange. And as much as many of us say we would like to hear our guides and hear their guidance, how comfortable are we really with someone or something we can't see and we don't really know about talking to us? We're walking around our regular life and then someone says something really loud. I mean, that's scary. And that's also, hearing voices is not necessarily a very healthy thing in mainstream society. So that said, if you really want to have a connection with your guides, first get comfortable with the idea of being comfortable with energies that you can't really see at the beginning and you don't really know. You want to just feel safe that what you're going to connect with or who you're going to connect with is going to be helpful. And that said, a big part of making a good connection with guides is being adamantly clear that you're only going to talk to high-level beings. And when we get into this world of hearing beings from other dimensions that we can't see with our physical eyes or hear with our physical ears, we have to be careful because there are lower dimensions and there are higher dimensions. And in the lower dimensions are spirits, people who died, who haven't transitioned over. Now, if you don't make a very clear distinction that you want to hear from very high-level guides, you could accidentally start communicating with perhaps someone you love that passed over or crossed over. And while that can be very comforting and hearing them or feeling a sense that they're around you can be good, you don't necessarily want to go through your life with a disembodied spirit, someone who died, giving you advice or being around you. It's not healthy. They are meant to move onwards. They're not meant to be here. So I have to make that distinction, and it's important because a lot of students and clients I talk to many times will be confused about who a guide is. Is it my grandma who died? Is it my ex? Is it, it's like, well, no, you don't want your guide to have been a human who just died because they haven't evolved through the stages they need to get through in order to attain the level of enlightenment that it takes to give you the guidance. So that was a whole long explanation. Just set your intention. You want high level guides. High level guides can be ascended masters, angels, saints from a while ago who have had time to really get into those higher planes. And they do exist. They are here to help. And I want to share something with you. I've been channeling for, like 7-8 years now. And I ask the guides, so when I channel, there's a way I do it, and then they communicate with me and they send energy. And I just hear it, and I'll talk about that in a little while. But I wanted to share with you a message that these beings, these ascended masters, these guides gave me about how they're able to communicate with us. Because if we're not 100% certain who guides are, it would be helpful to know why they want to help us and how they get through and how it is that they're available 24/7. That was my big question there, because what's going on? Like, what, don't they have other things to do? So I asked, how is it that you're always there to talk when I come up? Because I rise up on the planes to get to them. What about other things you might be doing or other places you might be? And the reply I received from the guide was, or guides, we exist outside of a realm of time and space. There is no here nor there. It is not an apples to apples comparison. Our energy transmits to you through wavelengths. Our wisdom is eternal, and when you tap into the flow, the river of consciousness, all of the answers are there. We are here and present. There are many of us, no one source of guidance. We are omnipotent and omnipresent. It is as easy as that. Tap into the source of one and all. The answers and wisdom are there. No one has just one sole source of guidance. Infinite, it cannot be quantified. So if you think about that rather long message, that's what happens when you start getting into channeling. I'm going to talk about what happens when you first start with the connection with the guides. But isn't that so profound that there's so many of them, these higher beings available to help? And what I've ascertained throughout the years too is that by helping us, we raise the collective vibration of the earth, the source frequency, or frequency on the planet, and then we help them evolve also. There's so many different layers going on, but there's a reason why they're available to help us. So knowing who you want to connect with, how and why they're able to connect with you, can help quell some of those perhaps subconscious fears that might be getting in the way of you having a connection. Now let's get into having a connection. I will tell you, and if you've been watching my videos, first and foremost, the number one best way is through meditation. And I've created a beautiful fairy tale-like spirit guides meditation that's available on my website that really helps you get into that space. The reason why meditation is important is it disconnects you from the physical realm and the world of people. You want to be very, very clear, because telepathy, I made a video recently about telepathy, but telepathy can happen between you and another human, and it can also happen between you and your guides and deceased loved ones I talked about before. So if you're walking around and you haven't gotten quiet, you haven't done a meditative journey to connect with your guides, and you just start to talk, or you start to say, hey, can you help me, blah, 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 you might get telepathic messages, or even your own mind giving you made up messages, your ego pretending that it's answering you. So clear the noise of the world. Number one, clear the noise and meditate and go within with the intention to connect with your high level guide. And the guided meditations are the best and easiest way. They're so easy. And what I learned a long time ago is that if you decide to do this at the same time every day, they think of it like it's a meeting, or they're not human, so they're different from us, but it creates an easier way to facilitate that connection. At the same time every day, you make it a point to go within and be quiet and hear your guides. Now, as for the hearing part, when you're quiet, at the beginning, guides are very careful not to invade our space and to say things that will scare us. So they're very gentle. When you first start to connect through the meditative process, you may just get a feeling of comfort. You may hear one word. What some students of mine have heard are phrases of songs and melodies. That's a really common way guides come through. It's you'll hear a song for no reason. It's like they telepathically gave you that, and it has a meaning and it means something to you, and that you'll know it's from them. Now, I work a lot in the world of clairvoyance, which is just seeing with your inner vision. So if you're doing that and you're meditating, you can say in that meditation, I want to see my guide as like a color. In fact, when I lead students through the process of connecting with their guides in person, like in workshops and stuff, I always have them first perceive them as a color or colors. And that's just the most easy way to identify your guide, is what color is it? What color, what energy are they presenting? Because they are in the world of energy. we perceive energy as color as humans, so that's an easy way to connect with them. Just be like, oh, it's that's the color. I have done this with archangels and seen it. Like I know I've talked about this a long time ago, but one time I was heavy into prayer for assistance and help with Archangel Gabriel, meditating on Gabriel's colors. And I walked outside and somebody was walking down the street full on in like this outfit you don't see people in my neighborhood wearing, like just over the top Gabriel, like long blue hair and like all the trappings. And it was just like, oh my God. Anyway, color is an easy component. So that's step one. Get quiet, meditate. Those are the ways that you'll start to hear and sense and feel their influence coming in. Number two, be ready and able and willing to listen to guidance when it comes through. And the way that you can also connect with yourself and prove, or like not prove, but like reinforce to yourself that you are here and you're willing to hear their guidance, is throughout your day, ask them to help you. Ask them for guidance. Say, I'm open to guidance. In this category, I'm also going to add in the practice that I think is beautiful that a client of mine just told me about. She has a beautiful altar in her home where she says her prayers. That's where her guides live. And she told me she feels the presence of her guides at that altar. So that is a reminder right there in her home that she is willing to connect to them, and she's opening a doorway for them to come to communicate with her in a very sacred way. So just keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. Guide me, help me. And that may seem like common sense to just keep asking. But the important thing is sometimes we say we want help, but we really don't, or we don't like the answers we're given. I mean, after doing readings for 15, 20 years now, like you know it when people don't like certain answers. And so if your guide is going to have to tell you something you don't want to hear, again, like, are you willing to be open to that? Like, to make changes to your life at such a fundamental level. The thing is, your guides aren't here to hurt you. They're here to help you. But sometimes what they want you to do might make you kind of it might be uncomfortable. And this is go into this territory of like, what are they telling you? But what I'm trying to say is they don't care really about conventional society and what you think you're supposed to do and want and everything. They want what is best for your spirit. And sometimes we get so disconnected from our spirit and so like caught up in society that we don't follow what we are really meant to do. And so your guides will always bring you home to your spirit and your soul and what you're really here for. And that might mean marching to the beat of a different drum. But they won't ever force you to do anything. Gentle suggestions. When you start to hear their communications, it won't be a sentence or a few sentences like I read to you. It'll be snippets, like just little words. So that point actually brings us into the third way to connect with your guides, which is after the meditation and then the asking and being open. Number 3 is being very aware and noticing everything. So you're going to be noticing things at the visual level with your hearing, sensing, feeling, knowing even. That's how you start to be attuned to when their answers come in, okay? So when they talk, and if you're really working like I want to hear you, which I worked on so hard because I so wanted that, even though I really don't like hearing voices, because it's awkward, it's weird. But if you imagine your ears are like really huge and you're like, I want to hear, help me out, listen, ask, listen. You'll just start hearing like a couple of words and like however, you may hear them, your guides may come through in different ways. So they may actually, this sounds really out there, but they do, because they're coming through the dimensions, they have a way to connect with the frequency of sound waves and the frequencies on the radio and on streaming devices. And I've heard this so many times and seen it happening to myself so many times. It's a terrible sound outside. I apologize. I'm not going to start this video over again, but they will come through. That was not guides. That was somebody literally outside. They'll come through like the radio with the song that's the answer. And it's so cool. So if you're paying attention, you notice. If you're not paying attention, you won't notice, and you'll be like, why can't I connect with my guides? But they're like, no, here, we're trying. We're sending you stuff. They will give you numbers, sequences, messages you'll see, and just acknowledge it and keep asking, keep looking, keep acknowledging. If you want to get into the channeling aspects, leave a comment below and I can make a video about that. And if you're interested in a live workshop on spirit guides, I actually created a spirit guides workshop that's on my website, pre-recorded. But if you want to do a live one, drop it into the comments or email me at ask@krishanti.com. Because once you tap in and you do have that connection, it's a beautiful connection, and you will have that for the rest of your life. They really are here to help. And I got to tell you from experience, I've had a hard life. And when I finally was able, when that connection came through so strongly with the channeling, the guidance, the advice, the love is just profound. And so it's really wonderful to have that relationship. So leave a comment with me. What's going on here below, and let us know too. With like your guides, do you hear them? Do you know who they are? Is it a color? Do you get signs from them? Do you channel? Is it automatic writing? Do you hear music? Do they give you birds? Like, how do you know who your guides are, and what's your connection there? Check out the meditation I talked about. That's beautiful. And or the workshop. And also let me know. We might do a live spirit guides workshop, which would be really, really fun. So I think that sums up for this video. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you later. Bye.